Hello everyone. Today our topic is Civilizing the Native, Educating the Nation, Class 8 Social Science History. Before starting, I would like to request that please subscribe my channel and watch my previous videos. So let's start with our today's topic. Today's topic, Civilizing the Native, Educating the Nation. Now, today we are going to try to understand a particular time duration of 17th and 18th century. During that particular time period when Britishers were in our country and they were trying to teach every individual, every Indian, the culture of Britain, so that the Indians must be a very good followers of their culture, and they must be a very good worker, and the way whatsoever the commodities that they are producing, how that can be consumed by the Indians, that was the mindset of the people, that means the Britishers. Now in this particular topic, Civilizing the Native, Educating the Nation, some of the words that we must understand first before moving to the chapter. The first word is, or the explanation, the tradition of Orientalist. The Orientalists needed Indian scholars to teach them vernacular language. Now here when we are talking about Orientalist, it means we are talking about the Britishers, those who were the followers, and they always thought of that the Indian culture is far better than the British or the European culture and European language and European customs. Because of that, the Orientalists continuously needed the Indian scholars or Indians, those who can teach them their local language, local custom, local laws, that means Indian laws, and help them translate and interpret ancient text. They believed that the ancient customs of the country and Oriental learning ought to be the basis of the British rule in India. The second one is the education for commerce. It was believed that Indians would be able to understand the advantages of trade and commerce through European learning. Western influence would change the lifestyle of educated Indians so that they would really accept British good. Now here the thinking was that whatsoever we teach them, whatsoever the education that is to be given to Indians, that must be in such a way that these Indians must be a customer of what the commodities are produced in Britain that must be consumed by the Indians. The next one is the what happened to the local schools. Once the Britishers, they started teaching their own culture, their own language, the modern schools and modern public schools were established, then there must something had happened to the local school, that means the Pathshalas and the Madrasa. What happened to it? Earlier, local schools or Pathshalas were allowed to function without much interference, but after 1854, the British standardized the curriculum, imposed routines, established rules, and ensured a regular inspection of these schools. Whatsoever the things that we are finding it now in modern day were introduced by the Britishers in 1854, and after that, new routines, new rules. The Britishers government appointed officials who were made in charge of 4 to 5 schools. Teaching was now according to a regular timetable. The students wrote examination, paid a regular fee, and obeyed the new rules of discipline. These were some of the things that were introduced by the Britishers. Now earlier, before that, in the local schools, the different system of education was followed. It was on the basis of, when we are talking about the different way of school, it was on the basis of cropping pattern, that once the cropping is going on in the fields, then the students were given holidays so that they can help their mother and father in the cropping of the farmlands. And later on, when the cropping pattern just for 10 to 15 days were over, then again the students were allowed to get in school and they can continue their studies. But now once these new routine, new timetables were introduced, now the system was totally different what it was thought of in comparison to that. Agenda for national education. In the 19th century, Indian thinkers were impressed with the development in Europe. They felt that the Western education would help in modernization of India. They urged the British to open more schools, colleges and universities and spend more money on education. Now, here again, Gandhi's view on Western learning. Gandhi argued that colonial education created a sense of inferiority in the minds of Indians and destroyed the pride they had in their own culture. Tagore, his abode of peace, that means Shanti Niketan, Tagore felt that the creative learning could be encouraged only within the natural environment. Therefore, in 1901, he set up his school, Shanti Niketan, in a rural setting where children lived in harmony with nature and cultivated their own natural creativity. This is somewhere nearly 100 kilometers away from modern-day Calcutta. This was established by Rabindranath Tagore. Now, let's start with how the British saw education, the tradition of orientation, and similarly the modern way of it. In 1783, William Jones, a linguist, was appointed as a junior judge at the Supreme Court that the company had set up in Kolkata. He started studying ancient Indian texts on law, philosophy, religion, politics, morality, arithmetic, medicine, and other sciences. Englishmen like Henry Thomas Colebrook and Nathaniel Hallett were busy discovering the ancient Indian heritage, mastering Indian language, and translating Indian Sanskrit and Persian work into English. A madrasa was set up in Kolkata in 1781 to promote the study of Arabic, Persian, and Islamic law. In 1791, the Hindu college was established in Banaras to encourage the study of ancient Sanskrit texts that would be useful for the administration of the country, that is India. Now, as per the British, they thought of and they continuously said that there are grave errors in the culture of East, in the language of East, in the tradition of East, and because of that, they also thought of that these errors must be eradicated from the modern day or from the East. That means they were talking about the Asian countries, and they felt that they are superior in comparison to the natives of Asia or Africa or America, and because of that they were having a white man's burden that they must culture them, they must teach them the way of living, the religion, the education, and everything to these Asian, African, and American people. In very early 19th century, many British officials began to criticize the Orientalist version of learning. They said that the knowledge of the East was full of errors and unscientific thought. Eastern literature was non-serious and light-hearted. James Mill was one of those who attacked the Orientalist. According to him, the aim of education ought to be teach what was useful and practical, so Indians should be made familiar with the scientific and technical advances that the West had made rather than the poetry and sacred literature of the Orient. Thomas Babington Macaulay, another critic of Orientalists, saw India as an uncivilized country that needed to be civilized. He emphasized the need to teach the English language. Following Macaulay's minute, the English Education Act of 1835 was introduced. A decision was taken to make English the medium of instruction for higher education and to stop the promotion of Orient institutions. That means after this act, the Orientalist or the Oriental languages were stopped to be funded by the British government or East India Company, and ultimately the madrasas and the partsalas they stopped working in the country, and ultimately the education changed. And from now onwards, we will find it out that more and more people of the country were illiterate because now they have to pay if they are studying in their schools. Whereas earlier, the payments were on the basis of what the people or what their background is. Now it is everybody had to pay the fee to the school. Now, education for commerce. In 1854, Wood's dispatch, an educational dispatch, was sent to India outlining the educational policy that was to be followed in India. It emphasized on the practical benefit of the system of European learning. Now here, with the Woods Dispatch, now the thinking of the East India Company and rest of the people started changing. Now they started thinking about that whatsoever the educational policy of the country, of the India, should be, that must be practically beneficial to the company and to the European system. Woods Dispatch argued that European learning would improve the moral character of Indians and make them truthful and honest, and thus supply the company with civil servants who could be trusted and depended upon. Now with this Woods Dispatch, everybody, and basically the East India Company, now they were arguing that whosoever be selected, the Indians must be truthful and honest to whom? To the East India Company, to the Britisher. Following the 1854 dispatch, several measures were introduced by the British. Steps were taken to establish a system of university education. Attempts were also made to bring about changes within the system of school education. Now with the Woods Dispatch, many other changes were done in school education system. Now, what happened after Woods Dispatch, or even before that with the Macaulay's Minute and all these? What happened to the local schools? In 1830, William Adam, a Scottish missionary, toured the district of Bengal and Bihar and was given charge by the company to give report on the progress of education in vernacular schools. Adam found that the system of education was flexible and local schools were known as pathshalas, even madrasas. There was no fixed fee, what I was talking earlier. There was no fixed fee, no printed books, no separate school building, no benches or no chairs, no blackboard, no system of separate classes, no roll call register, no annual examination, and no regular timetable. Fee depended on the income of the parent. The rich had to pay more than the poor. Classes were usually held under a banyan tree or in the corner of a village shop, in temple, or at the Guru's home. Teaching process was oral, and the Guru decided what to teach in accordance with the needs of the students. The Guru interacted separately with group of children with different level of learning. Now here we can find it out, it's more scientific than what even today we are finding in the school system, that the teacher was totally responsible, and he, on the basis of mental ability and educational ability of the children or of the student, he was teaching what to be taught. Now here, if a student is super brilliant or a mediocre, or the learning procedure of the student is low, or he is unable to understand many of the mathematical procedures, then also we force them to study. Whereas in olden times these were not possible. That if the child is not good in maths and he is good in other subjects, then the teacher, on the basis of that, was teaching that particular child in that particular subject. Now, after 1854, new routine and new rules were made. After 1854, the company decided to improve the system of vernacular education by introducing order within the system, imposing routine or timetables, establishing rules, ensuring regular inspection. Company appointed a number of government pundits, each in charge of looking after 4 to 5 schools. Teaching was now to be based on textbooks, and learning was to be tested through a system of annual examination. Students to pay a regular fee, asked to attend regular classes, sit on fixed seat, and obey the new rules of discipline. Those pathshalas which accepted the new rules were supported through government grant. Few new rules had some consequences. The students have to attend school regularly even during harvest time. Inability to attend school seen as indiscipline and as evidence of the lack of desire to learn. The agenda for national education. Some Indians impressed with the development in Europe felt that Western education would help to modernize India. Huge capital was invested on education to establish more schools, colleges and universities. Mahatma Gandhi and Rabindranath Tagore reacted against Western education. They both were against the Western education. Mahatma Gandhi was totally against any type of Western education to be introduced in the India, whereas Rabindranath Tagore was of that the education must be in the vernacular language and modern scientific education must be given to the children. English education has enslaved us. Now here we find it out, Mahatma Gandhi, what Mahatma Gandhi thought of. That Mahatma Gandhi argued and urged that colonial education created a sense of inferiority in the minds of Indians. It was sinful and it enslaved Indians. It cast an evil spell on them. Moreover, it destroyed the pride Indians had in their own culture. Mahatma Gandhi wanted an education that could help Indians to recover their sense of dignity and self-respect. According to Mahatma Gandhi, Indian languages ought to be medium of teaching and the means to develop a person's mind and soul. Mahatma Gandhi on Western education said, focused on reading and writing rather than oral knowledge, value textbook rather than practical knowledge. These were what forced Mahatma Gandhi to be against the English education system. Whereas Tagore's abode of peace, that is Shanti Niketan, Rabindranath Tagore started Shanti Niketan in 1901. Tagore, as a child, had hated going to school, as he described school as a prison. He said he could never do what he felt like doing in school. He wanted to set up schools where children were happy, where they could be free and creative, where the child was able to explore their own thoughts and desires. He felt that childhood ought to be time of self-learning. He emphasized the need to teach science and technology at Shanti Niketan along with art, music and dance. According to him, creative learning be encouraged only within a natural environment and hence set up his school 100 kilometers away from Calcutta in rural setting. He saw it as an abode of peace, Shanti Niketan, where living in harmony with nature, children could cultivate their natural creativity. These were the thinking of Rabindranath Tagore. The difference between educational views of Mahatma Gandhi and Rabindranath Tagore were that Mahatma Gandhi thought that the Western education was hampering the Indian culture. He also felt that the ideas of Western education could modernize the Indian people but could not educate them. This is what Mahatma Gandhi thought of, that Western education may modernize the Indian people, but the education will not be there. Whereas Tagore wanted to combine the good aspects of it with the Indian traditions. He recognized the importance of science and technology and wanted to promote them along with art, music and dance at Shanti Niketan. This is what Rabindranath Tagore thought of, that science and technology and art, music and dance must be merged so that all-round development of students can be possible. Now, some of the important words that we have gone through in this were the linguist, native, orientalist, munshi, vernacular, minute, dispatch, pathshala and guru. If you go through the NCERT book, you will find these were the words that were there. Now, linguist, one who knows and studies several languages. Native, original inhabitants of the land. Orientalist, those with scholarly knowledge of the language and culture of Asia. Munshi, a person who can read, write and teach Persian. Vernacular, it refers to local language or dialect as distinct from the standard language. Minute, a short note on a subject. Dispatch, a message or report. Pathsala, local school. Guru, the teacher. Some important dates, like in 1781, a madrasa was set up in Calcutta. 1791, the Hindu college was set up in Varanasi. Today's Varanasi. On those days, it was known as Banaras. In 1835, the English Education Act was enacted. 1854, Oates Dispatch was issued. In 1901, Rabindranath Tagore established his Shanti Niketan, abode of peace. In Civilizing the Native and Educating the Nation, I believe so. I must have clarified some of the problems that you all have faced. Some important dates are also discussed and some important words were also discussed. Thank you for today. Goodbye everyone. Thanks for watching. We will meet in my next video. Please do subscribe my channel and hit the bell icon to get notified of my new video. And if you have any doubt, you can ask me in comment section. Once again, thanks for watching. And one more thing class, one more thing students, please, if you feel that any other topic is to be discussed or I must make a new video on any particular topic of your class or of any other thing, then do ask me in my comment section. Thank you once again. Thanks for watching. Have a nice day. Bye all of you. Good day.